for the audio, or you can even watch back. Giving players all the props, or put them on blast. We don't give no hot takes, only talk facts.
We're giving all our devotion, riding high on this wave of emotion. Going all out, yeah, 'cause this is our time. No, ain't no stopping us till we reach the finish line. All in, we came here to win. We're gonna give everything. S-I-C-K on the run. S-I-C-K, sick, sick. On fire, we're ready to fight. We'll bring the house down tonight. S-I-C-K on the run. S-I-C-K, sick, sick.
Play it on the car ride, play it when you lounge. X and O, you know that we can hold it down. Shout out to my man Sammy, got it off the ground. And to all the listeners tuned in right now, got debates, analysis, and speculation. This is sports talk for the new generation. You know where to find us, got a reputation. Sick podcast, your #1 sports destination.
Giving all our devotion, riding high on this wave of emotion. Going all out, yeah, 'cause this is our time. No, ain't no stopping us till we reach the finish line. All in, we came here to win. We're gonna give everything. S-I-C-K on the run. S-I-C-K, sick, sick. On fire, we're ready to fight. We'll bring the house down tonight. S-I-C-K on the run. S-I-C-K, sick, sick.
S-I-C-K, it's the sickest podcast. Tune in for the audio, or you can even watch back. Giving players all the props, or put them on blast. We don't give no hot takes, only talk back. S-I-C-K,
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 S-I-C-K.
All in, we came here to win. We're gonna give everything. S-I-C-K on the run. S-I-C-K, sick, sick.
S-I-C-K, it's the sickest podcast. Tune in for the audio, or you can even watch back. Giving players all the props, or put them on blast. We don't give no hot takes, only talk facts.
We're giving all our devotion, riding high on this wave of emotion. Going all out, yeah, 'cause this is our time. No, ain't no stopping us till we reach the finish line. All in, we came here to win. We're gonna give everything. S-I-C-K on the run. S-I-C-K, sick, sick. On fire, we're ready to fight. We'll bring the house down tonight. S-I-C-K on the run. S-I-C-K, sick, sick.
Play it on the car ride, play it when you lounge. X and O, you know that we can hold it down. Shout out to my man Sammy, got it off the ground. And to all the listeners tuned in right now, got debates, analysis, and speculation. This is sports talk for the new generation. You know where to find us, got a reputation. Sick podcast, your #1 sports destination.
Giving all our devotion, riding high on this wave of emotion. Going all out, yeah, 'cause this is our time. No, ain't no stopping us till we reach the finish line. All in, we came here to win. We're gonna give everything. S-I-C-K on the run. S-I-C-K, sick, sick. On fire, we're ready to fight. We'll bring the house down tonight. S-I-C-K on the run. S-I-C-K, sick, sick.
S-I-C-K, it's the sickest podcast. Tune in for the audio, or you can even watch back. Giving players all the props, or put them on blast. We don't give no hot takes, only talk back. S-I-C-K,
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 S-I-C-K.
S-I-C-K.
Turn up your volume. Because you're about to listen to The Sick Podcast. With Tony Marinaro.
55 seconds left in the penalty, a minute and 27 seconds left in regulation time. Boston 4, Montreal 3. Lafleur coming out rather gingerly on the right side. He gives it into Lemaire, back to Lafleur. Oh!
The sickest Montreal Canadiens podcast.
You're in the ball!
Sports entertainment like no other.
Rejoint, on lui fait perdre la rondelle, une passe devant. Et c'est le dégagement et ce sera la victoire des Canadiens. Coupe Stanley pour les Canadiens. Le 23e de l'histoire.
You found the dogs! John, you found the dogs! He found the dogs!
And all together, they worked a young team to the top. And now, a 24th Stanley Cup banner will hang from the rafters of the famous Forum in Montreal. The Canadiens win the Stanley Cup.
Brought to you by Energy Transportation Group. Driven to be different. La Bittt. Embrace your true nature. And Playground, your premier gaming destination. It's gonna be sick.
Marinaro on this Tuesday, August 5th. I hope you all are well, and thank you for watching me on YouTube, on Facebook, and on Twitter. The Sick Podcast brought to you in part by Energy Transportation Group, a leading full-service logistics provider serving all of North America, driven to be different. They're a top fleet employer in Canada. Just ask Forbes magazine. It's a great place to work. Check out the career section at shipenergy.com. Nicolas Cloutier of TVA Sport will join us in just a minute because, of course, a couple of days ago wrapped up the World Junior Summer Showcase, and 4 Montreal Canadiens prospects were in action during that showcase. Michael Hage was one, Owen Protz was another, LJ Mooney was another, and Aatos Koivu. And we're going to be talking about Koivu with Nicolas Cloutier of TVA Sport, who had an article on him earlier today on tvasport.ca, tvasports.ca. Also brought to you in part, the Sick Podcast is by Playground. And inside the Playground, you will find the Rail. And there's 3 tasty reasons to visit the Rail. Mondays as a 4 p.m. Dive into 2 lobster tails for just $22. Served with rice, veggies, garlic butter, and a warm biscuit. Thursdays from 4 p.m. Sink your teeth into their surf and turf special. An 8-ounce New York strip with shrimp, fries, and pepper sauce for only $19. Fridays from 11:30 a.m. to 4 p.m. Enjoy any burger, sandwich, pizza, or main for just $7. Certain conditions apply. Of course, all you need is a valid Playground player's card, and it's free. Details is good or worth the trip only at the Rail inside the Playground complex. Visit playground.ca for details. By the way, if some of you are wondering why, because I still get those questions everywhere I go, why is there a 5-minute countdown? Well, if you hosted the podcast, would you host it cold, just coming in? Or would you actually give a 5-minute countdown so everyone has 5 minutes to prepare, log on, get set up, and then when you start the podcast, you start with more people in the channel, more people to talk, more people to chat, more people to communicate and all that stuff. And so there's a method behind the madness. And now you know what it is if you didn't know already. Without further ado, let's bring him in. Nick Cloutier, TVA Sport. Comment ça va?
What's up, Tony?
Hey,
the only thing I'm gonna say about the countdown is that damn music gets in your head, man. Like, I go on your show, and then for like 4 days straight, when I go in the shower, it plays in my head again and again, and it makes me crazy. I don't know how you do it, Tony.
Yeah, you know what's even better is that the women, when they take a shower, they not only think of the music when they're in the shower, but they also think of me because they relate me to the music. Anyway, that's another story for another
I
day.
really did not know where you were going.
Well, now you know. Comment ça va? Ça va bien?
Ça va bien, toi, Tony?
Good. Ça va très bien. You know, last week I talked with Chris Peters, of course, of Flow Hockey, and they stream a lot of the junior games, out of the United States. And Chris, of course, as you know, is a guru when it comes to young players and prospects. Yep. And I see, based on your article earlier this morning, you had a chance to talk to 2 people, and Chris was one of them. And I'm glad you're on today because I talked to Chris last week. You had a chance to talk to him just recently. So you talked to him after I talked to him. And obviously, he was able to give you more stuff on some of the Montreal Canadiens prospects. But I woke up this morning and I saw a tweet by you that looked something like this. Yep. All right. Bien beau la domination durant un tournoi estival. Mais c'est quoi la projection pour Aatos Koivu dans la Ligue nationale de hockey? On a parlé à un contact qui était sur place à la vitrine du CMJ à Minneapolis et un coéquipier d'Aatos en Finlande. So you said, well, it's all fine and dandy to dominate during a summer tourney. But what is the real projection for Aatos Koivu in the National Hockey League? And you mentioned you had a chance to talk to a contact who was on site, which was Chris Peters of Flow Hockey, and one of Aatos Koivu's teammates in Finland.
With
Talk to
Turku,
me about your discussion.
Well, I talked to Jean-Christophe Baudin, which is a Quebecer that actually played for a short while in Laval with the Rocket. I think it was pretty much like a couple, maybe 2 or 3 years ago. And basically, what he told me is that don't look at the box score, guys, okay? This is a guy that has real skills, real offensive skills on the ice. But the thing is that was drawing him back is twofold. Well, for one, he had mono last year, which is really devastating as an athlete. I don't know if you've ever had it, Tony, but you're pretty much glued to your bed for at least a couple of weeks, if not 3, if not a whole month. And when you do get back, well, it takes some time to really get back in your game shape. So it really slowed Aatos Koivu last year. And the other thing is that young players in the Liga, they don't get much playing time. And you saw it with Slavkovsky when he was drafted first overall by the Habs. He didn't really put up big numbers in the Liga, but he did in international tournaments. And I would like to say he turned out well for the Montreal Canadiens, even though he's not like a franchise forward yet. All there is to say is that you really have to be wary of over-analyzing the box score with these prospects that play in the league, because Aatos, he has some real offensive skills that need to be considered seriously for his projection in the NHL.
It's funny you say that because, of course, like you mentioned, Slavkovsky played in La Liga. And when the Canadiens drafted Slavkovsky first overall in 2022, everyone could still remember Kent Hughes making the selection. And on Sportsnet, they had Shane Wright, they had Uri Slavkovsky, and they had Logan Cooley, and they had all three of them in the split screen up on the television. And when Kent Hughes made the pick, he didn't just announce Slavkovsky from his team that he was playing for in Finland, but uncharacteristically, he started by announcing him with the Slovakian national team.
That's
right?
True.
And that's something that doesn't happen like I don't remember any other time that a player was selected and as well as mentioning the team that he played for, whether it was in Europe or overseas or in North America or wherever, that they actually talked about him playing for a national team. Like it doesn't, it's almost like I don't know. It doesn't make sense to me.
Almost like, oh, guys, you know what? We didn't draft him because he played there. Here's why we drafted him. And then you mentioned the Slovak national team. So it makes all kinds of sense to me. You know what? It didn't even cross my mind before you said it. And I was on site in Montreal that day.
Yeah. And I'll add something. You just talked about playing in Finland. When that pick was made, I think it was Sam Costantino who had first words of Sportsnet. And then it was Pierre Maguire. And one of the things that Pierre Maguire said is that at one point he was on the third line in Finland and he was kind of buried there.
Yeah.
And then, of course, he played at the Olympics and he was playing with men. And Maguire said, he wanted the puck and he demanded the puck from his teammates. And that's something that a lot of young players, when playing with men, they're going to be kind of shy about, right? Demanding the puck. It takes a special kind of character, correct, to play with men. You usually want to, let them do their thing, and you're just kind of happy to be in there. Instead, when you're demanding the puck playing with men, it's like, you know what? And you want to take over a game. You're made of special stuff when you do that. So let's keep in mind, and Koivu, Finland is not an easy league to put up points.
No, it's a boring league. I don't want to disrespect everyone because it's a really high-quality league. But fact of the matter is it's a boring league. It's a defensive league, Tony, and it's a slow league. So, the veterans will put up numbers because there's kind of a hierarchy going on, and it's a big thing in Finland. Like if you're a youngster, I don't care how much talent you have, you don't get playing time right away. The veterans would always get the bigger share of the pie. So those are the guys that produce a bit, but even these guys, they don't produce ton. Like you don't see that like a lot of point per game players. There's a lot of point per game players in the NHL, but not a lot in Finland. So that tells you a lot. Like there's not much goal scoring up there. So you have to keep that in mind when you analyze these prospects that do not get a lot of playing time too. So as for Aatos, you add in also another factor, which is the mono. So I'm not saying, and you know what, Tony, Aatos, he's a third round pick. Like, I'm not projecting him to be a top 6 forward, but by any means. But there are some nuances to be accounted for, and I do think he could be a player at the NHL level. When you make a projection, it's always kind of a best case scenario. It's always if the guy develops, if the guy works hard, if the guy figures it out, if the guy fills out his frame. I remember talking about Aatos in his draft year. I was one of the first journalists actually to be on Aatos and to write a story about him, because before his draft year, which is 2024, he was pretty much a nobody, even though he was Saku's son, because he didn't put up the huge numbers, but he had a really sudden growth spurt. So he reached 6 foot in 2024. But the thing is, he stayed really lean. So when Aatos was drafted by the Habs, he didn't have the physical makeup of a hockey player. But this is coming along, and this is what we are starting to see, that what we saw a bit at the showcase is a guy that is slowly but surely starting to look like a man that gained back the weight he lost during mono, and it will certainly be a prospect to follow next year. I think next year will tell us a lot about what his projection could be. But if we are realistic, if he does develop well and he does keep filling out his frame, I don't think it would be too bold to say that he could project as either a third line center or a third line winger. I don't see a top 6 role unless he dramatically improves in the next few years. But you could see a top 9 role for him, because he does have talent, he does have skills, he does have potential, and you see a bit of his father in the way he understands the game.
Well, I'm going to tell you something. So if I had to bet on Aatos Koivu, because I mentioned this to Brian Wild yesterday.
Yeah.
So I mentioned to him that when I was at Habs development camp, of course, earlier in the summer, I got stopped by a lot of people who gave me their opinion, asked for my opinion, and several people told me they didn't think Aatos Koivu was going to play in the National Hockey League one day. And I said, I'd be willing to take that bet. I told them, I said, I believe he will. And because there's certain things that I think he's a very reliable player. I think he's a very smart player. I think he's a very defensive player. I think he's a 200-foot player. I think he's a sound player. I think that this player has room for improvement. But I'm going to tell you this. There's another thing that, for me, I always give a little bit of importance to, and that's bloodlines, right? You talked about his dad.
Yeah.
Of course, his uncle played. They were both top 6 players, both played on top 2 lines. And you talked about his size. His dad wasn't the biggest man in height, but his uncle had pretty good size, and his paternal grandfather is a big man. So not surprised to see that he's actually, he got taller. He went through a growth spurt.
Yeah, and he's 6 foot. He's not like really a small player, you could say. He's right around average for the NHL level. Maybe a little bit on the smaller side, but he's good.
Yeah. And so if I had to bet right now, I'd bet that he'd be a third-line player. Yeah. I believe he's going to be a centerman in the National Hockey League and not a winger. Mind you, if you know how to play center, it's pretty easy to play wing, so the centermen say. But considering that his dad played on a number 1 line in Montreal for a long time, some would say he'd probably be a second-line centerman on another team. Okay, maybe. And his uncle was a second-line centerman. I wouldn't be surprised if he ends up establishing himself as a number 2 centerman. Having said that, the Canadiens have Michael Hage, who I think has a notch above in terms of pure offensive ability. He'll probably end up being a number 2 center. If Hage, a couple of years from now, 2-3 years from now, can develop into the Canadiens' number 2 center, and Aatos Koivu can develop into the Canadiens' number 3 center, we know that Nick Suzuki should be around for several more years. This is going to be just what the doctor ordered, Nick Cloutier.
That would be pretty good. But this is in 4 or 5 years, Tony. I don't know. That's if also Owen Beck doesn't take that spot. That's it.
Yeah.
Kapanen doesn't take that spot. I mean, you're gonna have some options, and they're gonna draft some other players meanwhile. But you know what? I agree with you, Tony, because if you look at the traits of Aatos Koivu that are projectable, of course the bloodlines, and he thinks the game. The way he thinks the game, you can figure out pretty quickly that he's the son of Saku. He's the son of a former NHLer. So he thinks the game well. He's smart. He has skills. He has a good work ethic. to me, Tony, that's a really good start when you're projecting a prospect to the NHL. So the only thing that remains, and that could be worrisome, is his weight. And this is something that is getting along. You saw, I talked to Chris Peters, and he was like, yeah, I saw it, and I interviewed him like throughout the last years, and it was pretty evident that he's getting a bit bigger. He's bulking up. So this is coming along. So you have a full year where he's healthy next year, and he hits the gym during the off season. When he's around 180, 190 pounds, this is really going to be an interesting player to follow, Tony, and a player that has, like you said, a lot of projectable attributes to the National Hockey League.
So if you take a look at a young player playing in a man's league and in a pro league, underweight to start, going through mono, not being able to probably get his fitness where he wanted it to be the rest of the year, an inexperienced player compared to a lot of other players, that's not a good combination. You don't get a lot of ice time under those circumstances. And like you mentioned, a very defensive league. So, coaches are less inclined to play players like that. They don't get a lot of minutes. They don't get a lot of opportunities. Incidentally, they don't put up huge stats. And then all of a sudden, a lot of people are down on them. But that doesn't mean this player's not going to have a good NHL career, like you said.
Yeah, and mind you, that was like his very first full professional year. So, I mean, you got to let the guy get his feet wet. And when he was doing that, well, mono happened. So really just a cocktail of very bad circumstances for him. So you can pretty much throw that year down the trash.
Yeah.
And from what I gathered, he would have had a spot on the Philippines hockey team during the World Juniors. But because of mono, that did not happen. So I'm very curious to see what numbers he will put up in the next tournament, because he's going to have a huge role. Like what you saw in Minnesota last week, that tells you a lot about what he can do against his peers, because he was not playing against his peers last year. He was playing against adults and not getting playing time.
And we'll get to what
that
he
was
did.
A really interesting glimpse to me.
Yeah, and we'll get to what he did in just a second. But before, so I'll talk to you about Bittt Tibi. They launched their new Ultra Lager. It's a refreshing, thirst-quenching beer, perfect for a summer with only 90 calories, 2 grams of carbs, 4% ABV per can. Available in a pack of 6 and 12 in grocery stores all around the province of Quebec. It's ultra light and ultra refreshing as well. Go all the way with Betway if you want to get in on the action on any sport, whether it's tennis, whether it's golf, whether it's hockey, basketball, or football during their respective seasons. Go all the way with Betway. Get a free bet up to $200 if your first bet loses. Scan the QR code on the screen or click on the link in the details section to create an account. Redeem your welcome offer. Offer is only available for new customers. Terms and conditions apply. Offer is not available in Ontario. Must be 18 years of age and older. And please play responsibly. Last week at the Junior Summer Showcase, like you mentioned, in just 4 games, Aatos Koivu picked up 6 goals and 1 assist. Now, I'm not surprised that he had a great tournament. I am surprised that out of the 7 points, that 6 were goals. Because if you would have told me that he would have had a goal and 6 assists, I would have believed it. If you would have told me he would have had 6 goals in 4 games, with all due respect to him, I would have found that difficult to believe. But obviously, he is very comfortable playing with those junior players.
Of course. And when I got back from vacations, the first guy I called, Tony, was Chris Peters, because I saw the box score and I saw all the clips you could see on the internet, but I was like, I just want to know about his game. I want someone who was there, who had his butt in his seat, and that had the direct access to his play. So I called Chris Peters, whom I met at the Combine in Buffalo, and what he said to me is, like, okay, not only were the numbers good, but the process was good as well. He was always around the puck. He was making smart decisions, and I saw a guy that was taking much more command in the play, that was driving the play, that was not doing too much on the ice, that was making smart decisions. So a lot of reassuring things he told me over the phone, because sometimes you look at these stats. I mean, the guy could be at the right place at the right time. He can pounce on the right opportunities, but it doesn't always translate to good play on the ice. But Aatos Koivu was around the puck an awful lot, from what I was told.
And look, he played a more important role with the junior team than he would playing with the pro team, playing with men, where he's playing a lot more of a complementary role. So you could tell that, look, and the pressure was on, right? Because for a guy, like you said, and it's for some, it's just a summer showcase, but for a guy like Koivu, who unfortunately wasn't able to really establish himself during the season playing in Finland because of all the reasons that we talked about, this was a tournament that he needed to have.
Oh, he did. Oh,
And
yeah.
he had
He really needed to take his stride as well, because he could not. His season was not stopped short because he had the chance to come back before the end. But you don't come back in the best of shape, and your confidence is hurt. So it was really important for him to get going as soon as possible ahead of next season, and that's what he did. And I was worried a bit because I saw him a bit at Brossard at the development camp, and I didn't really see him pop as much as I would have wanted to see him pop. But he did really endure himself at that tournament. It was nice to see, and maybe it's a sign of things to come next year, Tony. Who knows?
Fantastic stuff. Talk to me about Baudin once again. He had a chance to play with him. What did he say to you that a lot of Montreal Canadiens fans would love to hear tonight?
He said his offensive abilities were number one.
Really?
Yeah,
Wow.
number one. I don't actually know what he meant by that, but he said ses habiletés offensives, Tony, sont numéro un. That's verbatim. That's what he said.
Wow.
So really encouraging, because this is a guy that practices with Aatos and that played at times on the same line. He said he was a really smart player, so it was easy for the chemistry to get going with when those two played together. He did say, although, that like a lot of young players, he needs to be tougher to play against, and he needs to understand a thing or two without the puck. This is not uncommon, obviously, with younger players, and this is something that he's going to correct as he grows into his body and as he fills out his frame, Tony.
Okay, Baudin, he knows what it takes to make it to the National Hockey League. He played a couple of games, if memory serves me well. Not with the Canadiens, but with the Blackhawks, right? He knows what it takes to get to the next level, and he also knows that there's a lot of junior players or American Hockey League players that are able to play a certain way, but the game is not able to translate to the National Hockey League level. Did he talk to you about if he believes that Koivu's game will be able to translate to the National Hockey League level, and if he thinks he'll be able to take that next step, which is going to be a big one?
So to quote him, Tony, he says, "I'm not worried. He's a smart player. I'm pretty sure he will figure it out. And I think this is a very good player at the next level." That's what he said.
Wow.
Yep.
That's great to hear, because once again, and we had this exercise with Brian Wild yesterday. I'm going to try and find it here. But Brian compiled some data from 2004 to 2014. And with the data that he compiled, I think he was saying that come second, third, fourth round, the chances of a player playing in the National Hockey League are about 7%. The chances of a player being
fourth round to the 7, it's 7%.
Yeah, the chances of a player playing, becoming an NHL regular, which would be an NHL regular would be 250 plus games in the National Hockey League. Okay,
that's fair.
Chances of a player, once again, becoming an NHL regular, all depending on where they're drafted. Okay, and there's a different percentage, obviously. So I'm going to do this with. I'm just going to look up. Look up that 1 second. Okay, so Aatos Koivu was drafted third round, 70th overall. Third round, the chances of being an NHL regular per the data that Brian has, 15%.
Yeah,
15% of having a career of playing 250 plus games in the National Hockey League. And the chance of being an NHL star, if you're drafted in the third round, the way Aatos Koivu was, is only 2%. So you know what? I'd be willing to bet that if you would ask experts today, like I said to Brian, more than 15% are going to say that Aatos Koivu is going to play 250 plus games in the National Hockey League. I believe that.
If you were asking me right now to put odds on it, I would say it's 50-50 he plays in the NHL, which are, by the way, amazing odds for a third round pick.
Yeah, I'm going to say he's got 60-40 because I'm going to give the advantage once again to the Bloodlines, okay? Right. Anyway, okay, he's not the only one you had a chance to catch up with. Now, did you catch up with another Montreal Canadiens prospect?
So I just talked with Michael H., Tony. I can't say too much because this is something I'm going to publish in the next few weeks during the summer. But what I can tell you is it's going to be about the work he did with a famous influencer during his youth. And it's also going to be about his off-season work. And what I can tell you about his off-season work is that Michael H. is locked in. Ladies and gentlemen, Michael H. is locked in. He has taken his work very seriously, and he looks poised to have a very good season next year in Michigan.
Well, when I saw him at Habs development camp, it's clear that he put on It's clear that he put on at least 10 pounds of muscle. Clear. I saw him.
Oh, yeah.
So I was there in Vegas, of course, when he got drafted, right? We spent a lot of time at the in the hotel lobby where I was staying at the Venetian, and I had a couple of conversations with him, and he was, I'm not going to say he was Peter Svoboda.
He was lanky. He was lanky when he was.
He was very, very, very lanky, like you said, and
because he wasn't small, like he's tall. But
he's tall, but he didn't have any shoulders at all.
Yep.
And this year I saw shoulders. This year I saw some width to him. And listen, if to be a full-time top 6 NHLer, you're going to need to protect that puck, and you're going to need to be as strong as possible so you don't get bumped off that puck and you don't lose those battles. Michael Hage, the difference in his body shape now compared to a year ago, it's night and day. And day.
Tony, you were in Brossard. I was in Brossard at the dev camp. When he was sticking out his butt, like nobody could take the puck away from him. He was playing keep away for like minutes.
It looked like he was playing a game of pond hockey against some of those guys.
Yes,
it really did.
Nobody could take the puck away from him. He was just manipulating the puck at will. It was like he was playing pond hockey at times.
He's got a heck of a wrist shot too.
Oh, he has everything. I talked to Martin Lapointe. Martin Lapointe is enamored with Michael H. raw skills. He has all the tools to be a second-line centerman in the NHL. The only piece that is missing, and that's why he's coming back to Michigan, is his play without the puck. But now that he's physically more mature, he's going to play with more of an edge, and he's going to figure out some of these things.
You know, I think that this is a player, and I could be wrong, but I don't think I am. I think Michael Hage is going to be a player that a lot of Montreal Canadiens fans are going to be very happy that the Canadiens did not trade last season. Because last season, when the Montreal Canadiens were looking for help to put them over the top, because once again, they ended up making the playoffs on the final game of the regular season. But come trade deadline day, which was on March 7th, a lot of people were hoping that the Canadiens can go out and land that number 2 centerman. And they were willing, some Canadiens fans were willing to give up Michael Hage. And I'm going to say this. I wanted the Montreal Canadiens to go out and try and add a player to help their top 6 if possible. But at no point was I willing to give up on Michael Hage. I was not willing to do that. And I think Canadiens fans are going to realize in a couple of years that they're happy that the Canadiens did not.
You just don't do that. Not at the expense of someone whom you hold the rights for like so many years, then that could help your franchise and boost your franchise for like what, 10 years with the years of control you have over him with the CBA. I mean, that would be madness. And remember, Tony, there was a time when Nick Suzuki was playing OHL hockey, when people were willing to trade him and use him as a trade chip because the Habs had Kotkaniemi and Max Domi at center. So they were like, hey, you know what? Nick Suzuki, we don't know about his skating. We don't know if he's going to be a center at the National Hockey League. We could use him as a trade chip. Who knows? Well, I think people are really glad today that the Habs did not do that. When you have a blue chip prospect that can play center in your pipeline, you keep him, Tony. You keep him at all costs.
Oh, Lord knows that we heard a lot of ridiculous Suzuki trade proposals over the past couple of years.
Put it this way.
I also heard some about Caulfield. I also heard some about Slavkovsky. I also heard some about Lane Hudson. I also heard some about Michael Hage.
Yeah.
I am, hey, listen, I'm not perfect by any means, but I am glad to say that I never proposed Suzuki in a trade. I never proposed Caulfield in a trade. I never proposed Slafkovsky in a trade. I never proposed Hudson in a trade. And I never proposed Michael Hage in a trade. So I'm not perfect.
What about Ryan Backer, Tony? Did you?
I have
Did
not.
You? Be honest
I
with
don't.
me now.
I will be honest with you. I was not enamored with the selection because for me at the time it was not the sexy pick. But I don't believe I've ever included Ryan Backer in a trade proposal. I don't believe I have.
Good on you.
But I could. Listen. I could be. I don't believe I have. I don't believe I have. I don't
Like that.
look. I don't believe in parting ways with either first-round players or obviously young talents under the age of 24 or 25.
Yeah.
I just don't believe in it.
Unless you look at the Mayu trade, what you get back is also a guy that was drafted in the first round this year.
That was two players drafted in the same
Yeah.
draft year who are the exact same age. And one went 17th in the draft, I believe. The other one went 31st. But had the other one not gone through the situations he would have gone through, he would have been anywhere between 10 and 25. So I have no problem with it. Once again, if you get back a player who's kind of like have the same age and you want to trade your strength for another team's strength so that you're able to balance out your lineup, I understand it. But other than that, I'm in, like, for example, Nick Suzuki, you take a look at his last 4 years, right?
Yep.
There's a projection, there's a progression, pardon me, every year.
Each year
right?
he bumped up.
Why would you want to trade something like Cole Caulfield, right? You get a guy who on a bad year could score 25 goals, and last year he scored 37, right? Why would you want to trade a guy like that? You have Uri Slafkovsky, who at 19 years old picked up 50 points, and at 20 years old picked up 51. Why would you want to trade a guy like that? You have Lane Hudson, who comes in and takes the league by storm and shows that he has a skill set and a creativity and imagination that very few have. Very few, and makes him so unique in the way he does it. Why would you be in a hurry to trade that? But you know what? In Montreal, a lot of people like to trade a lot of people because it might give their show ratings for a day or two.
Hey, I didn't say it. You did.
But it's true though, right?
It is.
You know what? I'd rather have lower ratings for a day or two or three, but
Yeah, but you're Tony. You're gonna get ratings anyway.
Not look very ridiculous while I say these things, right?
Yeah, and you know what? I want to add one more player. I would put Slafkovsky too in the list of untouchables, just because you don't really have a lot of players in the NHL with that kind of makeup.
I agree with you.
He's going to be central to the playoffs, to what you need to do in the playoffs, and they're lacking that type of player right now. They're a bit on the small side.
I've never traded him either.
Good boy.
Yeah. No, I wouldn't do that. Like, hey, listen, you talked about the package Slafkovsky, size, strength, physicality, ability. Like Uri Slafkovsky is one of only two players in the history of the Montreal Canadiens who under 20 years old had a season of 20 plus goals, 30 plus assists, and 50 plus points.
Yep.
The other guy was Lafleur.
Yeah, those are really good numbers.
That's pretty good company. Like, I'm not trading that.
It's hard to argue. The only problem with Caulfield is when he came back last year, he thought he was Jack Hughes. As long as he understands he's gonna live in front of the crease, and he's a power forward, we're good. If he thinks he's a skill player, we're in trouble.
I think that Marty St. Louis has different responsibilities as head coach of the Montreal Canadiens, and ultimately his responsibilities are to coach a team that picks up as many points in the standings as possible, and he takes them as far as possible. But part of his whole job also is to help make players better. Now, there's certain things he can do, and there's certain things he can't because he has to coach a team, and he can't concentrate on one player more than that. And that's why the Canadiens have a development team, obviously, right? But I think some of Marty St. Louis' best work has come with Caulfield. I really do believe that. He talked about Caulfield in the last 2 years of wanting to make him a better player, a 200-foot player, a more responsible player, an all-round better player, less unidimensional and more multidimensional. I think part of St. Louis' best work in terms of player development has been with Caulfield. And I also give him a lot of credit for not holding Lane Hudson back and making Hudson continue to play the way he plays, even if it leads to some mistakes and sometimes the puck ends up in your net. Because make no mistake, those are not mistakes. Those are learning moments. Those are an investment for a young player. I give St. Louis a lot of credit for those two players in particular.
Yeah, St. Louis found a really good balance developing those young players because he has to make them accountable, but he also has to give them a certain leash to express their talent, and he really finds a good balance between the two. That's his biggest quality as a coach, in my opinion. And the other thing about Caulfield I want to mention, credit to him because they took him off the first wave of power play for a bit when Laine came back from his injury, and he didn't pout. He kept scoring goals, and you would have been happy with him if he became this kind of 30 goals power play specialist. But he has become much more than that. He has an impact 5-on-5, and even on the road when Martin St. Louis doesn't have the last change, you still see him have an impact during the games. He had a lot of away goals last year at 5-on-5. Which is pretty rare for a player of this frame.
Yeah,
players of the frame of Cole Caulfield, they do most of their damage usually on the power play when space is available to them. Caulfield is different in the way that he still remains efficient even when the play is 5-on-5. So credit to him.
Nicolas Cloutier, very good points. Once again, I'll show you what the start of the article looks like. You can follow Nicolas Cloutier on Twitter, and there you have it. Canadien de Montréal, voici ce que pourrait devenir le fils de Sakou à Montréal. Here's what can be of Sakou's son with the Montreal Canadiens. Once again, from Nicolas Cloutier, an article on TVA Sport, tvasport.ca, tvasports.ca. .ca, and follow Nicolas Cloutier on Twitter. Thanks, Nick, for doing this live from the head office of TVA Sport at 4545 Rue Frontenac in Montreal.
Where you need to come visit next year, by the way. All right? Thank you, Tony.
I was there at TVA Sport this year, down the stretch. With JC?
Yes, in the studios.
Oh, in the studio upstairs.
You never come in the newsroom.
I hear you. It's a deal. We'll talk to you soon. Thank you very much.
Good.
Once again, special thanks to all of our sponsors. Betway is one. Bittt Tibi is another. Playground and the Rail inside Playground. Of course, 3 tasty reasons to visit the Rail and Energy Transportation Group. If you like the podcast tonight, leave us a 5-star review. It's our way of feeling the love. For Shane Gaumont and Master Control, thanks for watching the Sick Podcast on YouTube, Facebook, and Twitter. And thanks for listening on all social media platforms. I'm Marinaro.
And that's a wrap. Hope you don't miss us too much until next time. Follow the Sick Podcast with Tony Marinaro on YouTube, Instagram, Facebook, Google Play, and Apple Podcasts. The Sick Podcast is brought to you by Energy Transportation Group, driven to be different. LaBita.tb, embrace your true nature. And Playground, your premier gaming destination.